Eclipse Theory Games, the podcast where we bring you the latest in gaming news, indie reviews, and everything else under the sun. My name is Kendall, and I'm here with one of my co-hosts.
Tony, aka the Heartburn Kid.
All right, okay. The food nicknames, you already
Yeah,
know
bring
that's
one back.
yeah. Nah, I'm not mad at that, but nah, we can't stick on that too long. I cannot give you your just desserts like what you deserve to hear about that terrible nickname because we're actually joined by a guest today. You know, the founder of Ultimate Endgamers League (UEL) eSports extraordinary himself, Mr. Titus Walker. Welcome to the show, man.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely, man. We're excited to have you here. We are kind of doing a different type of episode here, back again for episode 54, I think, if I'm not mistaken. Keep losing count for whatever reason, but
Yeah, 54th man like Dwayne Johnson.
there you go. Yes, sir. But now we're gonna kind of, since we have a guest here, talk about esports a little bit. We're gonna kind of focus on that lane of gaming because it's a very interesting avenue of the industry, and definitely kind of want to talk a little bit about UEL because it has a very unique stamp in that side of things. You know, that industry. So, just to kind of get us started, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and UEL itself?
Awesome. Yeah. So again, my name's Titus. I'm the CEO and founder of the Ultimate Endgamers League, and it was founded about 5 years ago. And we set out to create something sustainable in esports, a competition that would keep people coming back and keep people excited. And so we created this system that approached gaming from a holistic perspective where instead of it being about a single game, take like a Call of Duty League, we decided to create like a UFC approach where you're trying to determine who the best gamer is across all categories of games. So there's five major ones: fighting games, sports games, shooting games, racing games, and strategy games. And it's taking all of those, combining them, and creating a competition to see who's the best.
Nice. That's such a unique approach to this whole concept of like esports leagues and leagues in general. Like just kind of combining the skill set of being a gamer and just seeing where that avenue takes you is one of the main things that like stood out to me about UEL when I started looking into it. Just like your approach to gaming, where you talk about how it's more about honing your own personal skill than it is about like competing with one person or another person. I think that's a really unique and dope way to approach that.
Yeah, I appreciate that, man. And that's our thing. Like we put gamers and gaming above the game. And that I think that's like a key thing about what we do where, every other league is always about the game. The whole thing is about the game, the characters in the game and all that stuff like that. For us, it's the gamers and gaming. And that focus has allowed us to grow at a much quicker pace.
Nice, nice. So, I mean, tell us a little bit about yourself and like your journey with gaming. What are the games that kind of led you down this path to wanting to pursue the esports avenue?
Yeah. So my journey started, I was really young. I was about 4 years old. My dad introduced me to Mortal Kombat, which
Mm.
isn't the best game to start
That's
out
a hell
at.
of a
I was about to say I disagree. I disagree strongly.
Yeah. But it allowed me to really like use my mind, and it was the one thing that I could beat him at. You know what I mean? Like in this arena, we were equal.
Nice.
And so that was really cool to me, and I took that and kind of ran with it, and just have always seen video games as a way to connect, and a way to kind of showcase your skills and gaming is really just problem solving is different types of problems for each type of game, but it really is like using a lot of cognitive skills, and so
Mm.
it's just as much a sport as anything else. But when I got into gaming, I kind of like once my dad actually ended up going to prison when I was about 8 years old, and for something that he didn't do, but still he ended up going, and while he was gone, it was like still a way that I found to be able to connect with my family and family on his side, family on
Right.
my side. And so it became like it became a big thing in my life. And I was always very competitive. And so, once I got older, I got into real estate first,
Oh,
and did that for about 8 years. Did real estate development. So I would actually take like a plot of land and turn it into a massive community. So everything from a 10 home community to a 2,000 home community. And I did that very successfully, but didn't really find
nice.
purpose in it. And so once I got into gaming, I saw that there was a lack of community, and the communities were always focused on a single game. And that I saw that as an issue because it was like for me, it'd be like, building my community on someone else's land. If I can't build a bunch of houses on someone else's land, that's a bad business plan. And that's how I
Mm.
saw the gaming world. And so I decided to kind of step in and create something where there wasn't anything in that arena.
Absolutely, man.
That's dope, man. So I was watching the interview you did not too long ago where you talked about how you guys own the term Endgamer.
Yeah,
Um
yeah,
and how
yeah.
I guess your top
That's
gamer,
awesome.
yeah, your top gamer is kind of it's the end gamer, it's the top dog. And
Hmm.
the way you described it, I'm like, this dude just created the avatar of gaming. Like it's really just like whoever is comes out on top, they're like the guy. Uh,
Yeah.
so
Hey,
how
my
did you
man.
come up to that point where that's where you wanted the competition kind of to work, where it
Yeah.
was everybody coming together with their skill set and kind of being like, I'm the master of these five things.
Yeah, when I started researching the field, I realized like the average gamer plays 24 games a year, which sounds like a lot, but it's only 2 games a month. Like it's not that many. And if you're a gamer, that's not a lot of games.
Right. Yeah.
And so I knew that there were a lot more people like me that just enjoy gaming. So I was like, well, how about we create a competition for the average gamer instead of, I would always say in the beginning when I first started this, I'd be like, how many number one Call of Duty players are there, right? There's one, right? Like
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
it's like why would I market to the number one Call of Duty player, right? Whereas if I could find a market where I could market to the top, 2,000 or top 5,000 Call of Duty players, but then do that across all the different games too, now I have a huge market in comparison. Um, and then on top of that, I just like to compete. If I play somebody in a game and they beat me, I want to play them in the next one, right? Like that's kind of
It's a
how it
fact.
was. And so for me, I really wanted to create something for the average gamer, the person that's like casually competitive, the casual gamer with the competitive heart.
Yeah.
And I think that this quickly became that where gamers when they become end gamers they act different, they think different, they really operate with a winning mentality. And that I think has been probably the cool one of the coolest things to watch in this journey, like the transition to becoming an end gamer. And where that word didn't mean anything before, it means a lot now to a lot of people. And from that interview you saw like the word end gamer is really it comes from I used to play Fallout a lot. And, at the end of Fallout, if you've beaten it, you unlock every part of the game. So you get new things that you would have never been able to do during the game. So it's like you've mastered that game and now you are playing a different version, right? You've got a different lens on that game. And so that's how I created it. It's like, okay, the end gamer is the person that's mastered it, the person that's at the end game, right? Once you've reached the end game and you've mastered that game, and
Right.
you've become the end gamer. And so that's how we approach games. We want to master them.
It's awesome. That kind of gives me like I'm a big Souls guy, like Dark Souls, Demon Souls, Elden
Yeah,
Ring.
yeah,
There are legit end gamers running around still just killing everything. You know what I mean? We
yeah,
just
exactly.
casually, and I get that. No, I like that vibe. I appreciate it. And as someone who doesn't like, you know, master games in that way that your average esports player would, it's kind of cool to have something that feels like it's down an avenue that's like realistic for me who loves games, but maybe isn't on that level or doesn't really want to be on that level. Like, you know what I mean? It's
No,
not even
no,
aspires to
man. It's hard to find people that want to be there. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
you're talking 8 to 10 hours a day on the same game forever.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
come on, who wants that? It's a very rare individual that wants that.
Yeah.
Yeah. 'Cause, well, I always used to joke with my friends is that this came around at the wrong time. Like, we was a little
Man.
bit younger and the esports thing kicked off. Yeah, we'd have been, lock in on Call of Duty for 10, 12 hours a day. Let's get this right. But now,
Listen.
like Kendall said, man, this is the perfect place for most people that want to do this. Cause I know me, like Kendall tell you, I'm crazy competitive, like
Yeah.
Yeah.
insane. I have not spoken to people who have beaten me sometimes, but it's but like when it comes to gaming, like I want to chill and compete at the same time. So
Right.
this is something that's really dope.
Yeah, I
Absolutely.
appreciate that. I appreciate that. And this is definitely for people like you, man.
Yeah, no, and I appreciate the fact that it kind of leaves an avenue where you kind of open it up to, anything that people might be interested in. I feel like there's room for growth and expansion as new things pop up. You see like games that people might be interested in that might open themselves up into like a new lane, and now all of a sudden it's a competitive esports universe in and of itself. Like,
Yep.
you'll have people that are into everything kind of just coming together for it.
Exactly. It's a community of like-minded individuals that like challenging themselves, right? Like
Right.
at the end of the day, the players gaming again is just problem solving. It's different skills, whereas fighting games are like pattern recognition, button mapping, memorization. You have shooting games that are like hand-eye coordination and spatial awareness and understanding your opponent and what they're going to do and movement. All those different skills that's the reason people get attracted to certain types of games, because they utilize those skills in life. Those are the skills they like to be able to utilize. They're not really like, their memorization isn't great, so they're not going to play fighting games, right?
Right.
Or they don't understand patterns as well, so they don't play them, right? So it's finding ways to cross over and teach people new skills through gaming without making it boring, without making it like, because you see a lot of, we're doing the college thing now, so getting into a lot of different colleges, and a lot of the older generation feels like they need to create educational games.
Mhm.
And I have to tell them all the time, like, games are already educational. You don't have to change anything about the game. Like, the game is teaching you something. You just have to figure out what that is.
Mhm.
And a lot of times you don't think about that, but it is teaching you a real life. Hand-eye coordination is a real life skill, and if you can learn
Yeah.
it in a game, you can fly a plane, right? Pattern recognition is a real life skill, and if you can learn it in the game, you can trade stocks. So these are
Yep.
things that actually translate in real life, but nobody really thinks that way because gaming is fun. But
Right.
you can learn and have fun at the same time. It's just you got to figure out what it's teaching you, and then figure out how to hone in on what it's teaching you.
Absolutely. Kind of reminds me of how like they'll talk about how playing video games like a Call of Duty won't teach you how to be a better soldier, but it will give you the hand-eye coordination that adds to your skill set. So
Exactly.
it's a very real
Exactly.
thing.
So
Absolutely.
we just for everybody that's listening, we were trying to set this up the week before. We weren't able to because Titus was busy. You were at GDC, I believe.
Yeah, yeah. I was in San
Um,
Francisco.
so how'd that go? Because me and Titus follow each other on LinkedIn. I saw you were trying to sign up. Was it 33 games or you already did?
Yeah, we are still we select all the games by the 21st. That's when we announce our next season. So we're still going through that selection process now. And yeah, it's going to be a big season 9. We have our finals for season 8. I'm already on promoting season 9 mode, but season 8's finals is we actually just released the tickets for the DeVos Theater. So their ticket master is live with our event, and that'll happen on June 8th for the $100,000 finals in Grand Rapids, Michigan. And then yeah, and then we're working on season 9's games now. So when we were in
Excellent.
GDC, that was pretty much what we were doing, just interviewing with developers that are interested in promoting their game and putting it on our platform. For us, it's all about like ownership and players first. So the way we approach gaming as a whole and this competition is, we of course are a business. So when we created the business plan, the focus was on building a community and owning that community so that we weren't giving ownership to any single game. If I'm a Call of Duty league, then I don't own my community.
Right.
So I created a league of gamers, right? That's my community. They can't touch that. So if I go to these developers and I say, "Hey, I have a massive community of gamers that will buy your game, play your game, become a part of your community." These developers, of course, want to be a part of that, right? And so that's the business plan. Like, I have the community, and you want to be a part of it. You can buy in to become a part of my community, and then we'll select your game each season if you're willing to pay. And so it's become a sustainable way of doing esports where the competition doesn't have to die with the popularity of the game. And instead, we can market the game and make the game more popular, and eventually become, somewhat of makers for the games. We find great games, put them on our platform, and then shine a light on them, and help them become more popular.
Love that, man. Absolutely. Like make the product, not the product necessarily, but the actual community is the draw, not the games themselves.
Exactly.
That's amazing. Absolutely, man.
Exactly.
No, that's insanely smart, and I honestly can't believe nobody's ever thought to do that before.
I
Because
couldn't believe it
if you
either,
could go to
man.
somebody like, hey, I can get 3,000 something people to buy your game today.
Yes. What are you
Like,
gonna say? What are you gonna
yeah,
say? Right? Like we
Like,
know 58% of our gamers buy games immediately. That second I announce it, right? And
mm,
100% of them have it within the first month. What are you gonna say? Like, what are you
yeah,
gonna say no to
you'd be
that?
crazy to
Like,
say no.
right.
right. So I mean, and because we have so many games, we can up the prize pool a lot. Whereas one game would have to cut, like Street Fighter did their tournament, they had to come up with 2 million on their own, right? If
Right.
we were wanting to get $2 million, it would cost 60 grand per developer. 60 grand converting to a $2 million prize pool, that ain't nothing, right? So
Yeah.
it's now it's like we can do bigger and bigger and better, and put on a show, and then
Mm.
create a massive community of people that just enjoy playing video games and enjoy competition.
Man, it's really incredible. And on top of that, just being like one of the black owned esports leagues out there that's like really representing and I know that's kind of been an experience in and of itself, just kind of stamping yourself into this community and this
Yeah.
side of things.
Yeah, I had somebody recently. It was rough, but I had somebody recently tell me, that I wasn't getting investors because I was black.
Mhm.
And so that's something that I've known, since I started this. I almost put somebody else in the CEO position because I knew it could be something that held us back. But it's something that we gotta deal with. It's a
Yeah,
part of it. It's something my dad struggled with. It's the reason he ended up in prison when he shouldn't have, and now it's a different struggle, and I don't condone it, and I don't like it, but it is what it is. And the thing is, like, once we make it, then we can bring others up and help them, and do right by them. So
exactly. And,
Yeah.
it kind of no, I was just gonna say it kind of gives me the vibes of, you see the reception to the Baltimore mayor right now and everything that's going on with him. You see somebody like that in a position that doesn't look familiar, and people are gonna talk until suddenly they're not talking anymore. Suddenly it looks, normal. Suddenly it's what they're
yeah,
seeing all the time. So
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. And
So
I
we
think
gotta
it's
we
huge
gotta
that
change.
you decided to go ahead and be the CEO yourself, because like you said, you can bring other people up that look like us through that, but somebody who doesn't look like us can, but they probably won't.
Right.
So that's huge just for you to be able to create opportunities for other people, other black people in this space, because that's what kind of why we started Eclipse Theory. Is not a lot of brothers and sisters out here talking about games, and if
Yeah.
they are, they kind of in the middle of people that don't look like them.
Right.
right,
Exactly. Yeah. And normally that, I'd say, like, it's the majority of the gaming community. It talks like us, walks like us, looks like us, right? And so there's a huge portion of it that just doesn't feel at home, right? They don't feel like, because we just don't mesh well with the normal esports, like watching this game for 10 hours and it's that same game and the same repetitive, and it's just like I'm not gonna do that. I'm not interested in that. I don't want to watch that. Like, it's
Mm,
just not my vibe. Some people it is, but it's just not mine. And I think that a lot of people, um, they want to, they're going to find more entertainment in what we do, just because it's kind of snackable. You're getting to see all these different games, and enjoy them. And then the next game starts, and then the next game starts, and the next game starts. And then by the end of it, you've played 25 different games, and one team is winning like 13-12, right? And so it's like it's really really enjoyable if you haven't watched a match. I think there's one going on right now too. So
Yeah, no,
uh,
I've been checking them out on Instagram all the time.
yeah,
I
yeah,
follow, yeah, and I mean, like you said, it's quick. It's like you said, snackable. I mean, the the vibe of it is very esports, but still accessible. Like
yeah,
when you watch it, it doesn't feel like you're watching a bunch of dudes get sweaty and
yeah,
about
yeah,
ready to swing on each other,
yeah,
but
yeah,
you
yeah,
still
yeah,
feel that competition
yeah,
and feel like I shouldn't be like so close to this right now.
Yeah. It's like it's wild. When we used to talk about it in like the marketing stuff all the time, and they would tell me like nobody's gonna want to watch people if they're not elite in these games. And I'm like, guys, like you're thinking about this all wrong. If you think about a mobile game, mobile games are probably the biggest games out there, right? Making the most money out of anybody.
Absolutely.
Mobile game commercials are always done with a terrible gamer. Always. It is always somebody that is clearly bad, can't do math, doesn't understand the game, and you're watching it like, yo, what is going on? How can you not figure this out? Why do they do that? Like, like I used to have to say this all the time. Why do you think they do that? What do you think the purpose is that they do that? And why are they so wildly successful doing that, showing bad gameplay, right? It's because it makes you the hero. The viewer needs to be the hero. They need to be the one that looks at it and says, oh, I could do that. Then you're into it because you want to watch. You want to figure out if you could do that, right? Like if you make yourself the hero all the time, nobody's gonna want to watch it. Oh, okay. I like
Oh,
that.
that was dope. That was
Yeah,
dope.
listen, I wish that happened every time I said something that made sense. You know what I mean? It's perfect.
Nah, but I mean that's like, kind of how people with sports talk about, man. You look at Bron, you go, can't do nothing LeBron James does.
Right.
But then people look at Steph Curry and go, hey, I can learn how to shoot.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
Man, I learned we all learned to put the ball between our legs because of AI. Because we looked at that and was like, oh yeah, I can break some of my ankles tomorrow. It's happening. But no, that's really dope. I love that. We gotta kind of get into a little bit of what you playing right now, though. Since we're talking competitive gaming and everything, what have you been into?
So I enjoy Mortal Kombat still. It's that game that I can always get into. Honestly, the new one I haven't got into the new one as much. But I enjoy
it's
that.
a little rough right now.
Yeah. I actually like turn-based games. So like strategy turn-based. So like XCOM or I get into Yu-Gi-Oh. Like I'll play.
Okay, you're real.
Yeah. I like really hardcore strategy.
I was kind of like off the Yu-Gi-Oh train most of my life, and then for some reason, Duel Links just kind of latched itself onto me, and I was just stuck on that for like a hot second. I don't know what it was.
Yeah, that's crazy to start with Duel Links. Duel Links weird. Tough, man. You start with that, you really in it.
I was in it for a minute. Like it was a hot second. Nah, but I feel that, man.
Me and Kendall know each other since elementary school, so I was heavy in the Yu-Gi-Oh train back in middle school, and then like the game started coming out. I had like the early joints. I had the Dungeon Dice Monsters, and then as I got older, I fell off a little bit. I think the last joint I played was like on the GameCube.
And then
Kendall, like as Kendall said, he picked it up a little earlier with Dice Link, Duel Links, and I very much known on this podcast. I try so hard to get into turn-based strategy games, like Fire Emblem, all of that stuff, and I have not found one that clicked yet.
Interesting.
Yeah. We've talked about it a few times. I was similar at first. Like stuff like I played like Shining Force back in the day, like way back in the day. I'm dating myself just saying the words Shining Force, but I played that early on, and then like Fire Emblem stuff like that. XCOM I dabbled in a little bit, but I haven't dove into because I know XCOM is a very meaty, like really really deep game series. I really appreciate those types of games.
Do y'all play any like first person shooters?
Oh yeah.
This is kind of what made me bring up the convo because I'm very interested in that new Marvel game. I was a big Overwatch player. That was like my shooter for real.
Okay. That's not really a shooter in my opinion. I think that's more like strategy. Like Overwatch is like it's because there's so much team based like yeah, you could be the best shooting, and we've seen it in our league where you're the best shooting team in the league. You can't get beaten any shooting games except Overwatch. Like Overwatch is that one game where
it's all about positioning, time, teamwork,
exactly, and who you're selecting, all that stuff.
You're making a lot of points. The fireworks should have went off because you're making a lot of points right now.
Look, I've seen incredible Widowmakers not move an inch.
Yeah.
And I'm talking about one shot, one kill, don't matter. They whole team not moving one bit.
Yeah, and we found all shooting games are not created equal, man. Like there are a lot of shooting games that really aren't shooting games at all, and they're like more like I don't know what you, but we categorize them based on every genre has specific skills it has to fall under. Otherwise, it ends up in another category. So there's like a first person shooter that we ended up putting in strategy completely, and that was Lemnis Gate. If you've never played it, play it. Lemnis Gate, LEMNISGATE. I think it was discontinued, but I mean, the game is, if you can get a hold of it, oh my God, it's a good game. It's like a turn-based first-person shooter where time resets over and over, and you get 30 seconds to accomplish your goal, and then they get 30 seconds to accomplish their goal after watching you do what you did. So like you can try to stop them, but then they are going to try and stop you again, and then you're going to try and stop them again. And at the end, you got 5 different characters that have all gone out and done different things, but they all impact each other. So like if your 5th person ends up shooting your first person that ended up shooting everyone else, now none of that happens and they end up living. So it's a crazy like Inception like game. That really should have taken off, but they didn't want to work with us after we did like 2 seasons, and then I guess they were shutting down, so we ended up parting ways with them. But it was a good game, really.
Yeah. Oh man, we need to find a way to bring that back. I'm in love with the concept.
It's so good, man. Our players loved it. It was the most popular game. So when we let it go, it was rough because it was
amazing.
Good.
That's like a multiplayer game that gives you that same like sense of satisfaction as like a Super Hot. I don't know if y'all have ever played Super Hot.
Yeah, exactly. Because you could do stuff like, this person's going to be at this exact location at 5 seconds. So you can immediately shoot a rocket that's going to hit at that 5 seconds and take them out and will look like a superstar. As long as you shot it perfect, because you know exactly where they're going to be at the exact time. But then the next time they play, they have a way to hit, you know what I mean? So because they can put a shield around that same character, so then the rocket doesn't hit it, and then they go do something else. And then, so it's like,
these are the worst combos, because I would literally hop on that. I would end this podcast early and like try to find this damn game if we weren't, if we were able, because that sounds amazing.
I think you could still buy it, but I'm not sure. Okay. I don't remember if it was like late this year that they're closing up, but you can buy it and then you can still play it. But they're
look like they shut down last year.
Dang, yeah.
I mean, this is another reason why shining that light on these games, man. It's really important.
There's so many good games. We're talking to a game now. It's like it's chess, but it's a fighting game. And if my players hear this, they're all gonna download it and start practicing it. That's just how it works. They're gonna be like, "Oh,
you gotta keep some of that under wraps." Yeah, you gotta keep some of that under wraps.
Everything, we don't say anything about games, but this one is chess. But then like the pawns have like less health and less combos, less like whatever. And then the back ones have more power moves and all that stuff like that. So like as you're moving the pawn, you could take out a king with a pawn, or you could take out a queen with a pawn, but it's gonna, once they try and take you out, then you have to fight to determine who actually takes that piece. So it's like strategy, but at the same time, you have to have the skill of a fighting game. So I love those kind of games because you can kind of put it in 2 different categories and then watch people. You can have a fighting game player that has no strategy that can have a coach tell him how to strategize in chess. Meanwhile, he can just take out the person in fights. So it's a great like team-based thing.
Man, this is why I love games, because you can just kind of take a concept and run with it. There's so many different goddamn. I don't know if I will be able to come up with something like that. Like
that's right. And there's so many creative people.
Yeah, and there's so much application for just to like hit with different audiences, man. Like you never know who's going to touch on to.
Exactly, and most of them never reach their audience, right? Because like, and that's where we come in. Like the average game is spending 50% of their budget on just marketing, but that's to get one person to play. They're spending like $478 to get one person to play, and like a smaller developer, $478 to get one person. That's not sustainable, right?
No.
So they're going to spend all this money to get a person to play, and they're hoping that person shares with a bunch of other people. But what I always have to tell the developers is like, look, it doesn't matter if you can get me to play. You got to get my friend to play. If you get my friend to play, oh, look, there we go. If you get my friend to play, then I'll play, right? Because now my community is there. That's what it's all about. We already have the community. So you don't got to do nothing. Like, we'll give you the community, but you got to pay the community to be there, right? So, so it works out that way.
It makes sense, and it's easier than ever now with like crossplay everywhere. You can just kind of do it. Everything's bleeding together. It's
Exactly.
dope,
And
man.
there's 50,000 developers out there now. 50,000
Man,
or sorry, 50,000 games developed last year. 50,000. That's
and
like nuts.
insane,
Yeah.
insane. Like,
And on top of that, you're doing like the thing that we kind of started Eclipse theory on was a love of indie gaming.
right.
Hmm.
And a lot of what you're doing is spotlighting indie games because we really do need a lot more of that, especially with the way the layoffs have been going, with
Yep.
AAA studios getting way too big and having to shut down or fire people. Like this is a great way to shine a light on indie games and make it
Exactly.
sustainable for them to succeed and continue to create games.
Yeah.
Exactly. We don't want to have 5 developers left at the end of this. Like that is not
Right.
good for anybody. We do not
Yeah.
want that. Right. So we got to put the power back in the gamers' hands.
100%, man. Absolutely. But
So talk to us about the teams. How did the teams get formed? Like, where what was the decision? Like team names, where they were based, where they're located.
Yeah, so we started with 4 teams, and originally it was like just Stafford or Fredericksburg with those 4 teams. It was the bots, the ghosts, the anyways, it was 4 teams. I don't know, I don't remember the other ones, but it was 4 of them. And then over time, we started getting a lot more people interested in purchasing teams. So we started to expand. On top of that, we had a lot of players interested in joining because we have a draft every season, just like a pro league. And so when the draft comes and we have 200 people trying to join, but we only have 5 slots, right? That's not a good look. So we started to expand, and we added 2 new teams. I think it was like season 3. We added, and so when we were determining location, once we started getting to the point where we were selling these teams for a pretty good amount, what I wanted to do is eventually have 52 teams, so one for each state and province. So it was like, so I started basically not assigning, but they select where they want to be home based out of. So even if they're not based out of there now, that will eventually be their home base because they're going to have G leagues, they're going to have venues and stuff like that all around them because the infrastructure is going to be set up to where you'll have a smaller like G league, and that G league may be competing for maybe at that time maybe like $1 million, right? Whereas the big leagues, they're getting paid millions of dollars just to do it no matter what, right? Um, so with that in mind, we are trying to set up the infrastructure for what we know it's going to be eventually, which is kind of how I've always operated. I've seen this as a huge corporation, and I've treated it as a huge corporation, and that's taken me far in thinking that way because I'm normally 10 steps ahead, hence the strategy games, which is how I operate. And so when they end up in a state, it's because they chose to operate out of that state going forward. And so any state that's not selected, those are the ones that are open whenever we do an expansion, they can select that state.
man, that's just another like kind of unique way to approach that. That's pretty dope. A
Thanks,
lot of
man.
autonomy kind of in the hands of the players and everything.
Yeah.
Man, honestly, I feel like it's a it's kind of the league for the people. You know what I mean? Like there's a lot of esports leagues and they all just kind of feel up above everyone else. Like,
Yep.
you're kind of out of reach. I've run into people that like play for DC teams and it's like, oh, it's almost like playing for the league, literally.
Right.
But this kind of feels open-ended and I really, really appreciate that, man. So like where can people kind of keep up with you guys and check you guys out when you want to check out your streams and everything?
Yeah, you can go to, I appreciate that too. You can go
Yeah.
to uelesports.com, uelesports.com. And then you can go to, and that's has all of our information on it on our website and all of our socials. Every single one of them is just UEL Esports. So at UEL Esports on all of our social media. And we got a bunch of cool merch on there and all that. So
Absolutely, man.
definitely get your merch. But yeah, there you can sign up too. You can register for free. We don't charge players ever at any point. So you want to sign up, you can do that and get entered into the draft, and then good luck in the draft pool.
It's nice.
So I got a couple more questions before we get out of here on
For
this.
sure.
Absolutely.
So you were talking about possibly expanding. So does everybody on each of your teams, are they local to that state, or are they people like if there's somebody on Maryland Ghost, are they in California?
Mhm.
Yeah. So
All right.
we have people that are all over. Like the goal isn't to have states that have only players from that state because I don't consider that like a pro league. It's more like which state has more gamers, which I don't want. I want it to be more of like a pro like NBA league. So
Mhm.
so you're gonna have people from all over, and eventually they'll get paid enough sooner than you think. They'll get paid enough to be able to live in that state that they're operating out of as well. So right now, everybody operates out of our arena in Stafford. So they all fly in or drive in or whatever to our arena in Stafford for the games that we have. And we have games every Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday at that arena.
They get a Wisconsin team, I'm gonna holler at you.
Yeah.
I got to rep the home state.
Hey, we,
Absolutely.
we we got space in Wisconsin for sure.
So no, that actually, because you brought up something, thing I was going to ask about is that you guys just recently built this new arena in Stafford.
Yeah. So we moved. We had a spot out of Fredericksburg. We actually operate out of Ashburn as well. We have a sister location, and then Virginia Beach, and then Fredericksburg, and then Stafford. We moved to because it had a little bit more space to be able to expand. Production room was a lot better, so we moved up there. We've actually just started conversations with the Capital One Arena with Monumental eSports.
Nice.
So we will probably start operating out of there for some events as well.
That's dope. So yeah, everybody that's listening, please support the UEL.
Absolutely, man.
I'm saying this from a place of, obviously I want y'all to support it. I'm saying it because I support it too. I watch the streams, I enjoy watching the way people play these games.
Mhm.
Because it's different. Even when people get even into the shooting thing, like the way they compete is so much different than watching a Call of Duty league or watching people play Battlefield. It's
Yep.
People are really thinking about how they're playing, and it's not just we about to just go bust somebody's ass real quick.
Yeah.
It really does feel more than the bigger leagues. It does feel like a sport, and it's been really dope to watch. Just like I said, me and Titus follow each other on LinkedIn, so I always keep up with the stuff that he posts. So it's just been dope to see the growth, that you guys have been having over the last few years.
Appreciate that, man. And I appreciate you guys having me on. It's been awesome. It's been a great conversation.
Yeah, absolutely, man. It's been an absolute pleasure because it's a lane that doesn't really get touched on a lot, especially in podcasts and things like that. So it's great to kind of shine a light on that. So yeah, guys, if you want to, you can kind of go into the description of the video. I'll make sure I have all the links for the social medias, the website, and everything, so you guys can go and support UEL. It's something really dope, and we should all kind of get behind stuff like this when it pops up. So definitely appreciate you for popping up, Titus. We are gonna have to have like a continued relationship with this. We're gonna have to check in with you guys soon. Yeah,
I agree. I'd love to come on again. It's been fun.
for sure, man, for sure.
And they
But
local, so we might pull up. We might just
hey,
pull up to
man,
watch.
We
we
can
right
do
in
it.
Maryland.
That's
Yes,
a
sir.
2.5, 3 hour trip.
Man, you
Hey,
already
let's
know.
do it. June 8th. I'll get y'all a VIP spot too. So come on
That's
out for real.
that's all you had to say. That's all I
I got you.
All right, but listen, guys, we're gonna go ahead and wrap this one up. Make sure you guys let us know what you think of everything that we talked about today. Check out UEL, kind of hit us up and let us know what esports you're enjoying watching with them. We want to hear from you guys because we want to make it a show for you. So until next time, I'm Kendall. This has been Tony and Titus, and make sure you keep gaming. Take care.